Okay, and it's pretty informal for those of you that have been through this before. If you have a question, you can put something in the chat. You can click on the raise hand. If it's not too disruptive, you can go ahead and just unmute yourself and jump in before we move past whatever issue or item that you have a question about. Little shorthanded today, so if you put something in the chat or you raise your hand, we don't catch it right away. Just be patient, please. We will get to it eventually. So with that, any questions before we get started? All right. I apologize again, my video is not working, so I'm just going to have a black. In fact, I'm just going to put up my little logo. You can always go to our news and info hub site where we post information, event notices, upcoming events, that kind of stuff. A lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today we'll put up on that hub site, and the URL for that is information-highstategis.hub.arcgis.com. When I post a YouTube video, in the description, in the comments or the description for that video, we'll put all the links that you're going to hear about today, but we'll also post some of the documents that you'll see today. If that hub site actually right now is restricted to our main ArcGIS Online org, that's our main 800 or so users. So orgs like harbors, airports, Hawaiʻi, you may get prompted for a login, or when you enter your login information, it may tell you that you don't have access. If that happens to you, please get in touch with us. We can get you access. But for those of you who are in our main org, you will be prompted to log in. You should, if you have any issues getting to that page, please let us know. So the biggest news for the GIS program is that after a 2-year vacancy, we have filled that position. We have a new analyst that's going to start April 1st. We're finishing up some of the paperwork and some of the process stuff with personnel, but we expect that person to start April 1st. Can't give his name yet. I don't know that he's given his notice yet. So, but we're very excited. He's very capable, has some coding experience, open source GIS experience, as well as Esri experience. We'll be reestablishing, I've said this before, I mean it this time, but we're going to be reestablishing a quarterly meeting schedule for our State Users Group meetings. This is the first one. The next one will be June 20th, then September 26th, December 19th, and March 27th. It's going to be the fourth Friday of the month, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. till noon. Again, we'll post that on the News and Info hub site. There's also a link on that hub site for upcoming events that you should be able to see those things coming up as well. In addition, we're reestablishing our monthly brown bag schedule. That's going to be also on the fourth Friday of the month, just from noon to 1. And the next one is scheduled for April 25th, tentatively, 12 to 1. And that is, the topic is going to be looking at a particular use case for ArcGIS notebooks. So using Python for the broadband, the State of Hawaii broadband project. So if you guys are using Python, you might be interested in attending that. The dates, the tentative dates for those meetings, again, will be posted on the hub site, but they're April 25th, May 23rd, July 25th, August 22nd, et cetera, et cetera. I am going to put those in my calendar so that I don't let those dates slip. But if you're interested in giving any kind of brown bag appropriate talk to the other users, projects that you're working on that might have some kind of interesting twist or might be topical, please get in touch with me, or you can just email gis@hawaii.gov and we'll get you on the schedule. Wanted to give a few updates about the Esri UC coming up in July. We have 20 complimentary registration passes every year as part of our enterprise agreement. Those are all spoken for right now, and we've got a few names on a waiting list as well. Typically, though, as we get a little closer, and we're already in late March, typically people will start dropping out of those complimentary pass registrations. And when that happens, of course, we'll move people up on the wait list. So if you're interested in being added to the wait list, again, email gis@hawaiʻi.gov, or you can reach out to Joan De Los Santos. One of the things, though, if you have a reservation and you're not planning to go, you're not going to be able to go, please let us know at the GIS program, because before you cancel your registration, you can transfer your hotel to somebody else. And hotels are probably the hardest thing at this point to get. So those are very valuable. And then, of course, we'll move somebody off the wait list. I saw a posting recently that said the agenda for the UC is online. I haven't looked at it yet, but that's always a good thing to get a head start on. There are hundreds and hundreds of sessions, so the sooner you can start planning out your time at the UC, the better. So I would check out esri.com and go to the events page. If you can't go in person, there is a virtual registration available as well. I'll put the URL for registration on the in the description for the YouTube video. But if you go to the esri.com site and go to the event to register, you'll see that there is an option for virtual attendance. There is a cost associated with it, but because you're a State of Hawaii employee, it's no cost to you. I think it's like 99 bucks. The thing to know, though, is that not all the sessions are available online, but a good number of them are. For example, the user presentations are not going to be available live streamed. Also, the recordings or the sessions that they have available in this live streaming are generally going to be available as recorded sessions later after the UC. In fact, during the UC, they post the recordings up pretty quickly. But it's a great way to attend without actually having to spend the money to go there and stay there and see a lot of interesting presentations. I'm going to start talking slower because I'm really zipping through this. I wanted to mention too that when I log into ArcGIS Online, I see a notice saying that the Map Viewer Classic is being retired. So the vast majority of you who have ArcGIS Online accounts in the state orgs are probably using the Map Viewer Classic. Just like ArcMap, it's good to start planning to migrate off of that. If you have any questions on how to do that, please get in touch with me. Again, gis@hawaiʻi.gov. But just real quickly, what you can do is click on that the waffle. I guess your name when you log into ArcGIS Online. Click on your name and go to Profile, and then you can set your default map viewer there. I am starting to do the classes for the absolute beginners now using the map viewer, the new map viewer. I'm calling it new because it's new to us, but it's been around for about a year and a half, a couple of years. So if you're interested in learning about that, feel free to just email me and I can put you on the list for the monthly class. But it's got all the functionality and then some of the classic map viewer. Just the layout is very different. It's like going from ArcMap to Pro. Things are still there. You just need to know how to get to them. One of the reasons why we held off of the new map viewer for so long is that it did not have, for a long time, it didn't have the analysis tools in it, but those have been there now for at least a year. And I think there may be more analysis tools in that than there are in Map Viewer Classic. So if you're using doing any kind of analysis in ArcGIS Online, it's good to get familiar with how to use the new map viewer. Any questions so far? I'm talking really slowly now. Any questions so far? Yeah, okay. So if you're using ArcMap, we strongly recommend that you start looking at ArcPro and maybe migrate some of your projects into Pro. You can import an ArcMap project into Pro. There is some online training available, 1 to 3 hour kinds of videos, so not real in-depth. If you're interested in in-depth training, your best bet is going to that instructor-led training. They have some specifically for migrating from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro. ArcMap is set to end of life March 2026, I think it is, so about another year. It's not going to go away. You'll still be able to use it, but it's not going to be supported. And I don't know that they've had any bug fixes or I know they haven't had enhancements for quite a while, but I don't know if they have bug fixes either. So yes, please do start looking at Pro. Any other questions? Okay, I want to mention something that actually has been fixed, but one of the consequences of our not having an agreement in place right now is that time is ticking away, and then things are ticking away. So as many of you have noticed, you may have gotten those expiration messages about either your desktop licenses or GIS Online accounts. Our agreement with Esri expired June 30th, 2024. So we've been on kind of life support for 10 months, something like that. So thanks to Esri for that. But one of the things that came up just this week, and we've been kind of monitoring it for a couple of weeks now, is that we actually ran out of credits. So as some of you know, that when we have an enterprise agreement, our ArcGIS Online org is activated, we get an allocation of a bunch of credits. In our case, we've had a really good large number of credits available to us, and only just recently, like in the last few weeks, has that allocation from the June 30th, 2024 agreement actually run out. So meaning we had quite a large number of unused credits from FY 2024 that we've been using. A couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago, Esri spotted us an additional 10,000 credits in the hope that we'd have an agreement soon. But those ran out actually yesterday. So some of you ran into some error messages if you were doing any geocoding, using any of those analysis tools in the ArcGIS Online, or I think for DOFA, if you're running your permits and running a report from Survey 123, you would have gotten that yesterday. It was a very short window yesterday, from maybe about 4 o'clock to maybe about 4 o'clock this morning. But you may have run into that. That has been, I won't say fixed, but we applied a sort of a Band-Aid, a workaround to that. And that was, we transferred some unused credits from the Hawaiʻi org to our main org. So thanks to the Hawaiʻi folks. And that should get us another roughly 30 days worth. So hopefully within those 30 days, we'll have a new agreement and a fresh allocation of credits. So looks like Todd Kingman posted a link in the chat for the ArcMap lifecycle. So if you have any issues now with credits, please email us right away. Let us know. We should be okay at this point for a little while, but gis@hawaii.gov. Okay, if there are no other questions, I want to introduce Todd Omura if he's online. Todd, are you there?
Hey, Arthur. Good morning. This is Todd.
Great. So Todd is going to give us an update. I mentioned the enterprise agreement is going to give us an update on where we are with the enterprise agreement. So go ahead, take it away, Todd.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Todd Omura with ETS for the state of Hawaii. I think it's good news. I feel it's good news, and I know I think Todd Kingman from Esri's on the line too. But it's taken a while for us to work through it, but we've come to agreement on the conditions surrounding the contract for the enterprise agreement. In particular year one. So that's a good thing. So right now we're just going to work toward getting the contract docs in place, getting the signatures, and executing on that. Complete the blanket encumbrance for year one. We're 8 months into the year, but I want to thank Todd and Esri, working with us through this long but necessary process that we sometimes have to go through to the state. So once we get that in place, and again, about 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be good for the first year, and we can immediately start working on year two. And so this is, runs through we're tracking by the fiscal year, a 3-year agreement. So anyway, Arthur, that was my big update for the group. I don't know if anyone has questions, or if Todd Kingman's on the line too, if you have any comments too.
Yeah, Todd is Kingman is here, so
okay.
I'll turn the mic over to him in a sec.
Yeah.
But I have some questions first. So you mentioned year two. I assume that's going to be much smoother than this year one.
Yeah. It will be. So the idea is we went through a lot of the the work and back and forth now. So we get the conditions are not going to change, right, for the 3 years. So we'll just have to go through the quote unquote normal procurement stuff, getting things in place, working with the state procurement office, etc., working with Esri, and getting, and going back to what we're used to, that time frame. But it's time flies by quickly, so we're gonna immediately start on that, to get ready for the next fiscal year.
Okay, and this was it's a 3-year agreement, right? But we need to make a procurement every year. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd call it more accurately like an encumbrance. So we have the funds, right? We blanket encumbered for that first year, about 1.3 million, and then there's we get our budgets right every year, but years 2 and 3 coming up.
Will the next 3-year agreement have you kind of set a precedent for the next 3-year agreement so that we won't have to go through this kind of thing next cycle?
That's our expectation, Arthur. So yes. So
okay, one last question, and it's more of a technical question, maybe. I was in the ETS an ETS planning session. I forget which, strategic planning or something. But it was mentioned that the the general terms and conditions, and I know that was one of the issues with this agreement. The state's general terms and conditions are kind of based on construction. So is there a chance that we'll have different general terms for a services kind of contract in the future? Is that something that AG is considering?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything, to that level that they're doing, Arthur. But I mean, it does make sense. I mean, I kind of view the general conditions, right? That's like the starting point, right, for
Yeah.
all of the state's contracts. If we could have a different starting point, right, for IT in general, services, subscriptions, I think that's a great idea. Something we should explore, with the Attorney General's office. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thanks. I'll turn it over
Yeah.
to Todd Kingman, who's standing right here.
Aloha, everyone. Can you hear me? I get a thumbs up from someone. Yeah. Okay. A little bit of echo. Aloha. So yeah, it's been a long process to get to where we're at right now. We're not quite there yet, but it does sound like things are close, as Tadamura mentioned. This is a 3-year agreement. So from the standpoint of Esri, once we get this contract in place, we're good for a 3-year agreement. However, that first year being retroactively backdated to the expiration of the last contract, which goes all the way back to the end of June. So even though it's a 3-year agreement, we're pretty well within that first year of that agreement. We are going to have, like I said, a 3-year agreement. I think what Todd's referring to as far as the next year, looking back at this, he's speaking more internal state of Hawaiʻi process regarding the encumbrance of the funds. There shouldn't be anything that I'm aware of related to changing of the contract, updating the contract, or needing another contract at that time. And please correct me if I'm wrong there, Tadamura, if I'm overlooking something or missing something. And then the other thing, I guess, just what Arthur was mentioning about the fact that the contract template, the general terms and conditions from the state that was used being a construction contract, that certainly was a challenge fitting a software agreement into kind of a contract format that wasn't intended for that. But thanks to Tadamura and all his hard work working with us, we were able to kind of make things work out for both the state and Esri. And I think maybe what Arthur is alluding to is that maybe there could be a future contract format that actually well aligns to contracts, multi-year agreements with software vendors. So that it is much easier to make sure that those software vendors can comply to the terms in the contract. So just want to mention those couple things, and please feel free, Tadamura, to if I misrepresented anything, or if you have any additional comments related to that, please feel free to chime in.
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
That's really great news, by the way. I should have led with that. Anybody have any questions? We're not there yet, but it was a long time coming. Okay, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go into my thing about the transition. So this is a little dry. It's a very dry, but it does affect you as users to a large extent. I covered some of this back in October. For those of you that were on the call back in October, that recording is online, so you can go back to that. I'm going to cover some of the same ground here. But one of the big things is that this 3-year agreement incorporates some changes that make the management and administration of the GeoPlatform a lot more complex. In part, or in a way, I guess the state asked for it because we asked Esri to make a proposal that would sort of reduce the cost for the state. And to do that, one of the changes that is in the proposal and soon to be agreement is that we have a lot more what are called user types, which categorize users based on how they're utilizing the platform. So in the past, we had 2 user types, one called creator that could do anything, everything, and another called mobile worker that was a little more restrictive. So we're moving from that 2 user type model to one that has, I think, 6. So we're going from creator and mobile worker to professional plus, professional, creator, contributor, mobile worker, and viewer. Is that 6? Yeah. And in that order, they kind of have fewer and fewer permissions to do stuff on the system. At the very top is the professional plus, and those are people that are not only using ArcGIS Online, but also using a desktop software and the highest level of that desktop software. So in the old terminology, if you were using ArcMap or ArcGIS Pro, your license was called Advanced. So you had access to all the analysis features of the desktop software. Just below that is Professional, which has a lot of those advanced analysis tools, but not quite everything and not quite all the extensions. And then below that is Creator, which you all know and love. In the past, that was, it described more the ArcGIS Online users. They could do pretty much everything in ArcGIS Online. They could create maps, they could create applications, they could create data, create surveys, and dashboards, do all kinds of analysis, all that kind of stuff. In the new agreement, Creator also includes an ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Pro basic license, what used to be called a basic license. So, which complicates things for us on the administration side, because before we had probably 200 or 300 users who only needed ArcGIS Online. And we had another maybe equal number of users that needed ArcGIS Online and were using some kind of desktop. But now they're both being lumped together, and I'm going a little more into the weeds than I meant to. But the bottom line is that these additional categories, as you get fewer and fewer permissions in the system, cost less and less, so that the overall cost for the state is lowered by categorizing people into those groupings. And what we did on the state side is we sent out that user survey back in May or June of last year, asking you how you used GIS in your work. So many of you said that you don't create stuff, that maybe you just edit stuff, or you don't even edit stuff, you just use it you just need to be able to view stuff that other people are making or view maps that are already existing. So we came up with numbers that way from the self-identification. And let me see if I can share my screen here. Okay. Bear with me. So these were the results of the survey. Hello. Sorry, I'm just trying to hide my ribbon. I guess I can't. These were the results of the survey. So in this column A, this is the user type you are now, creator. And then this S user type, that's from the survey. This is how you self-identified based on your survey responses. And then the new user type is kind of a combination of our looking at what you said and then what you're actually using to kind of determine what your true categories should be. So for example, this person is a creator. They said they needed to be a creator. They're using desktop and they're using a standard license. So the old terminology was for desktop was basic, standard, advanced. So they're using standard version of the pro license, which means that in the new environment, they're going to be a professional. And then we had other people who said, I don't know if I can find any real quick here, but that said that I only need to be a viewer. But they are a creator now. So those are the ones that are going to be interesting. So this person is a creator now. They said, you know, I only look at stuff, or maybe this person's a better example. I only look at stuff, so I only need to be a viewer. So their new category is going to be viewer. And what that means is that right now they can create stuff, and they might have created stuff, maps or apps or something. But in the new environment, they cannot create stuff. So before we move them to this, number one, we need to make sure, is this really right for you? So we'll need to talk to the user and their manager, probably as supervisor, to make sure that, yeah, they don't need to create anything. They just need to view stuff. If this is the correct category for this user and they have content, their current content needs to be transferred to someone or be deleted. So it gets, those are going to be the most complicated ones, where we're moving somebody from a high category creator down to something less than creator, because those conversations will have to take place. And with just 2 of us right now, soon to be 3, we hope, in the GIS program, we don't have the capacity to do that with 1,000 users. So what we have done is, with the help of ETS, is we've identified GIS leads in the departments, and we've started having conversations with them about what they're going to need to do once the new agreement is signed and once we're starting to transition users. So it's, we had some initial conversations to see if there were any concerns. So far, no major concerns were expressed, but then we haven't been able to do any of this because we don't have a new agreement. We don't have those user types available to move people into. So we don't know what, we have a good idea of what that's going to look like, but we don't know if there are going to be any hiccups in that process. So what we'll do is I need to come up with some more detailed documentation, some training for those GIS leads. And what we want to do is have start with a pilot agency, one that's not too big and not too small, so that we can test out the process and see where the difficulties are, where the questions are, where the concerns are. And once we have the agreement, that should happen very soon after that, probably within a couple of weeks. I've identified an agency to start with. I just got to confirm with them that they will be our pilot. Once we work out those bugs or identify the bugs and figure out what the workarounds are, we'll start working with the other agencies to make that transition as well. And it's not, we're going to work with the agencies, work with those GIS leads. They'll initially shadow us as we work with the users, but at some point we'll swap roles and we'll shadow them as they work with the users and supervisors to do this. Originally, we were hoping to do this by June 30th, transition everybody. So we've got about 1,000 users overall among all our GIS users. We thought that originally we were thinking we had, maybe 6 months to do this, but we're already essentially in April. So our original goal of finishing this by June 30th might not actually happen. But I think as long as we have the agreement in place and the and working with Esri, we will get it done sooner than later, hopefully. It's not rocket science, but it is going to be, it may be painful for some users. And we may have to, along the way, we'll be reassessing where we are with the user counts, the user types, and what the contract says. And that's the tricky part, is making sure that we're overall in compliance with the contract. And that's sort of where ETS comes in. I talked a little bit about what the GIS leads are going to be doing at the agency. They're going to be, for this transition process, confirming that where the users are going to end up. But on an ongoing basis, they will be the ones taking the requests for new accounts and doing the same thing with those new account holders, making sure they're being put in the right category, working with the supervisors, make sure they're going in the right category. And then they'll pass that information on to, hopefully, ETS, who will then actually create the account and will be kind of keeping track overall in aggregate for all the state agencies where we are in those user type counts, because again, we need to comply with the contract, and they're the ones that would have probably the high level view of where all the agencies are with those users. Another complication is, again, these license levels. Used to be called basic, standard, advanced. Now they're going to be creator, professional, and professional plus. In the past, we had unlimited desktop licenses. Under this new agreement, there are limits. So again, those desktop users fall into those 3 categories of creator, professional, professional plus. There are caps on those. So in the past, it was way in the past, we used to just issue advanced licenses to new users that needed desktop, because that was the easiest thing. There's no we didn't have a cap on that. It was unlimited. And that way they could do whatever they needed to. Lately, we've just been issuing basic licenses to everybody that that asks for a new desktop license. And then as they run into messages that tell them they don't have the right license to do a certain analysis, we'll move them up. We'll either give them a new extension, or we'll move them up to from basic to standard, or standard to professional. But under the new agreement, we're going to need to kind of right size those people to begin with, because primarily those 2 categories, professional, professional plus, are the highest cost items for users in the agreement. So we want to make sure that only the people that need professional are getting professional, and only the people that need professional plus are getting professional plus. We don't want to take away any capability from anybody. So if under the new system you're not able to do something you did before, you were able to do before, please let us know, or please let your GIS lead know. Again, the goal is not to take away anybody's ability to do anything, but to accommodate everybody to the best that we can under this agreement. Any questions so far? This is kind of getting in the weeds. Let's see. Sorry, I haven't been looking at the chat, obviously. There, yes, there is a screen share, but I don't have any document to share other than, oh, sorry. Use and creation of story map. So for story maps, and Todd, you can probably, Kingman, you could probably answer this. If somebody is a contributor, they can edit a story map, is that right? They cannot create a story map, but they can edit a story map. No, because we have shared update groups where people are working on the same story map.
I'll have to double check, but that sounds about right, though. When you will be able to edit other people's story maps as well.
Okay, but beyond story maps, that would also apply to things like dashboards. Like if people are multiple people are updating a dashboard. I don't know how many people have shared update groups for dashboards. Okay. You might want to come over here. I'm not sure people can hear you.
Just saying that content in ArcGIS Online, and there's the echo. So it might not follow the kind of rules. What allows, like, a shared update group would allow you to edit an update of like something like a feature service in a shared update group, like a shared
we lost Todd, just to let you know.
can create and publish a story map, and another person can edit that. I'm not sure what the answer to that is.
Oh, hey, Gina. Yes. I don't know that we have, I think there are a couple agencies that we still need to identify GIS lead for, but yeah, we'll circulate that list. I can tell you that for DLNR, it's Chris Wong. So DLNR is huge. There's like 300 users in DOFA alone, I think, something like that. So Chris can't do it by himself. Chris, I'm not sure you're on the call. Chris can't do it by himself. He's going to have to be working with other folks in DLNR, like maybe Dwight. I'm not sure if Dwight is on the call, but he doesn't know, the 300 people in DOFA that are using it. He doesn't know their supervisors, but the people like the Dwights or the people that are a little closer to the users would have to be helping Chris with this process. So I'll just say too that if you have people in your agency that need an ArcGIS Online account or a desktop account, primarily the online account. So when you make the request, you will need to identify for us what kind of access that person needs. Like, are they going to need to create maps or dashboards or story maps or survey 1, 2, 3, or are they just editing content, editing data, or do they just need to view stuff? For example, a lot of supervisors probably just need to view stuff that other people are making, stuff that's not public, but so they'll still need to log into, but they're not actually going to change anything. So you need to make that identification when you request the account. Otherwise, I'll ask you or the GIS lead will ask you. I haven't revised our ancient form yet to accommodate that, but I think DOFA and DAR have a form that accounts for that. Yeah, transferring content from one org to another was it's an evolving thing. A few years ago, it was not easy to do, but now I think there are tools available to do it. I'm not sure if the item ID changes. Oh, from one user to another, piece of cake. So that's something that the GIS leads will learn how to do. But you as a user, you can do that yourself. If you go into your content and select an item, one of the options at the top of the screen is going to be change owner, something like that. So the users will do that themselves. Typically what happens is that when a person leaves an agency, before we delete their account, we'll need to move that content somewhere. So pretty time consuming for us to do that, because that means reaching back out to the agency, to the supervisor, and find out who the content should be transferred to. But it's something that the users can do themselves, and that's an ability that just happened a few years ago. But it's something that you can do yourself, and it helps a lot if users do that before they leave. Yeah, so Todd Kingman is mentioning that in the blog it says that you need a couple of extra permissions to be able to do that. We've enabled that for all our users. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, I think that's really all I wanted to cover about the transition with this group. There is a lot of work ahead, and the users are definitely going to participate. So if you have created any content, somebody may be in touch with you, either me or Joan or the GIS lead for your agency. It's yes, Maza, Python. It'd be great if more people had Python ability. What's the class coming up? Oh, that's Arcade. Alan is up next. He's going to talk a little bit about training toward the end of his what he's going to talk about, but that includes Esri's training courses. I think we just had one on Python, an instructor-led one. There's one coming up on Arcade, which is expression scripting kind of language. So for those of you who are coders, it's very powerful, very useful. Might be worth it, but the class that he's going to talk about has a cost associated with this, so not everybody will be able to take advantage of it unless you've got some end of year excess funds. So with that, Alan, are you about ready? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Alan Vinwan. Was that a little echo? Who's going to talk about the recent updates? Recent updates to ArcGIS Online. Take it away, Alan.
Great. Thank you, Arthur. Just want to make sure my audio is good now. We're kind of playing around with the audio in the room. Let me get started on my screen share. All right, good. Okay, so let's move this thing. Welcome to ArcGIS Online Updates. My name is Alan Binlan. I am a solutions engineer, part of the account management team, now based out of Hawaii. So thank you for having me here. In the next few minutes, I'm just going to show a handful of cool new features in ArcGIS Online, talk about some key considerations about like the app comparisons, web app builders, retirement status. Like Arthur mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the learning resources available and just kind of give a small preview of where the advancement of ArcGIS is going. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into ArcGIS Online. Second page. Okay, just kind of confirming that we are able to see my screen. All right, good, we're good to go. So what we're looking at here is a product called Editor, or Web Editor, should I say. It is a relatively new application, but people aren't really that familiar with it yet because they just kind of saw, hey, ArcGIS Web Editor, what is that tool? Like, is it just what's the purpose of it? Because don't we already have editing capabilities in the map viewer? Well, yes. Will we already have editing capabilities in Experience Builder in one of the widgets? The answer is also yes. So Web Editor gives our users an interface to specifically perform one task, which is, like I mentioned, editing. As you can see this general interface, we have a web map that I've created and I've referenced here in this ArcGIS Web Editor, but notice how it's a simplified editing experience with just your navigational tools, select tools, and then you have your basic editing capabilities up here. You have some, again, just general functions it's kind of like a bare application so that you don't have to be distracted or get confused by other tools that are available in the map viewer. For an example of this is, well, let's go on to one of the newest features of this web editor application. In the recent update in February, the batch editing was recently introduced. So when you highlight a group of features such as this one, previously you were not able to edit multiple features, but now it's a new feature where if I go ahead and make an edit here, you are able to edit all of them simultaneously. Kind of another quick note too. I don't know if you guys, I'm always guilty of this, kind of like in an editing session. I have these guys highlighted, but sometimes when I try to navigate or try to pan, I accidentally always just kind of click out of there or accidentally click other features. But this navigational tool right here, it seems very simple, but it's actually comes in super handy because it essentially saves you a click from having to go back to the pan tool so that you can edit while having these items selected. So it seems kind of silly, but it's actually very useful. And then go ahead. Continue editing. Go ahead, hit save. All right. So again, this is ArcGIS Online's web editor. We have a lot of resources available for this one. Next up is we're going to go ahead and jump on over to the map viewer. Let's see if our edits applied. Public schools. Save on that one. Okay, I was expecting, there we go. There's just a little bit of a delay before they applied. So what I wanted to show here is just the new features in ArcGIS Online's map viewer. First up, one of the newest features we have is being able to show multiple tables. Back then, you were only able to open up one table at a time, but in this example, I'll show you. We have one table tab open, but if you open up another one from a different feature, you now have the ability to open up multiple tabs, which hopefully streamlines a little bit of your workflow if you're working with several different data set. Because previously, you weren't able to do that. You can add as much as you want here, just kind of navigate depending on what your workflow is. Okay, next thing I wanted to highlight is the ability for your attachments. Let's see. Let's click on one of these points. In the pop-up, there is an attachment viewer here. As you notice here on the right side on the pop-up configuration. Oops, we're going to click on the correct one. There it is. You have the option to be able to configure how your pop-ups are going to look with your attachment, particularly for this one. Yeah, select the right feature. It's currently in the list view, but if you wanted to turn it into a gallery view, notice how you can adjust, you can add titles to it. But again, this is a new feature previously because formerly it was you had to kind of open it up from the table, but now within the pop-up itself, you can manipulate the way that this actually looks. Now, another exciting feature that was recently introduced in the February update is you may have noticed, hey, why are my those symbols are moving, right? Like so we actually introduced brand new animated vector symbology. So let's take a look. So let me turn these ones off right now. Start off with something kind of like your classic points. Styles. So what I'm going to be doing is we're going to change up the basic points. So under style options, symbol style. Right now it's currently set up basic points. And under categories, you will find a new category under vector symbols called animated. Now, when I click on this, you will find different animated symbology. Now, there's not that many. There's only about a handful of them, but we're planning on introducing more since, again, this is kind of like the first time this has been introduced. But if you click on any of these animated symbology, you'll see it reflect. So if there's a specific one that you're trying to call out, I guess this one's titled Circle with Outline Scaling. If there's I'm going to see what the star does. Similarly, star with scaling as well. Start blinking soon, kind of does it. You are able to customize the type of movements these animations can do, whether you really want it to like pop, how fast it's moving. Let's take a look at some of the arrows, or well, we got some pins, arrows, and importantly, maybe the a fire station, or if you're dealing with a road blockage or a color change, something like this. Again, you can bring in your own custom symbology in ArcGIS Online. However, you're not going to get the flexibility that this offers, being able to fine tune the way that you want the little animations to work. Now with that, I am going to go ahead and pivot to, oh, Well, the attachments, let me check out the So the question is, are the attachments via the URL? The attachments that have been created for this particular demonstration are attached to the hosted feature service. So it was an existing feature, and then I went on an edit session and I enabled the attachment on the hosted feature service, and I added those images on that example. Hopefully that addresses the question. But if not, I'm gonna always follow up, Maza. I'm gonna go ahead and jump on over to our scene viewer. Now, when we're using ArcGIS Online, most of our users are familiar with the map, but just look right up here. You know, you have your scene option. Oftentimes it doesn't get played around with enough, but recently the scene viewer received updates and additional tools that were once reserved to once of our more advanced tools such as ArcGIS Urban, but they've been making their way into our scene viewer, and then now we can openly play with it right out of the box. So the data set that I'm looking at here is a Esri provided base map with the 3D images of the buildings as an example. But the couple tools that I wanted to highlight here, so you can see is the state capitol. I think we're in this building over here right now. Couple tools that I wanted to highlight. First off is your line of sight tool. So if you're trying to identify if your one point is visible from another point, whenever it turns red, that means you're not able to see that area. But if it's green, that means it's within visibility range. And again, there's you can look at it like navigating it. This is helpful for like if you're just trying to see from one point to another point. Okay. The other tool that I wanted to add is if you're wanting to just see a wider view of this instead of just like a one point like you were seeing with the line of sight, we introduced a tool called the view shed. So similar to that tool, but instead of just being able to see one point to another, you now have let's go from here. I don't know what's here, but now I'm establishing the view shed. What is available and what can you view? Okay, just as a quick example. Anything in green is visible, but anything in red is no longer visible from that vantage point. And this just kind of opens up the different possibilities of the 3D rendering and 3D capabilities of ArcGIS Online Scene Viewer. Again, this is already available as an out-of-the-box tool. And just to kind of hopefully open up some ideas, there's a tool called ground transparency. So if you're ever working with data that is underground that you wouldn't normally be able to see, if you establish it here in the scene viewer, you can disable the ground view. So if you had underground data underneath the data set you're working with, you'll be able to see it here as well. And some of the cool kind of fun features as well is you can actually establish, see, let me find a good angle here. If you wanted to play around with the shadow effects, you get a different time of the day. If you're curious about maybe a particular building, or if there's a building that's being built nearby and you're interested in what the shadowing is going to look like, you can adjust it here as well. And then weather, it's just kind of like just for fun. You know, obviously it's constantly raining here. There's the weather effect, but just for fun, let's make it snow in Honolulu. And that be the day. So again, this is new features in the scene viewer. Feel free to play around with it. None of these features require additional special licensing, like all out of the box. let's go ahead and pivot on. Oh, yeah.
I don't know if people can hear me. My question, but what you're showing is based on tools and functionality using Esri's 3D base map. You have your own 3D data and you bring that in as a layer. Will those tools function with that information as opposed to the 3D base map?
Absolutely. So think about this 3D scene as another canvas to bring data in. Like, so if you have your own data, sorry, I'm gonna go back there. Basically, Todd is asking, can you bring in your own data in? Can you bring in your own 3D data into this model? Yes. Kind of like in the option here, you have the ability to add your own layers, whether it's a web scene or if it's a 3D model that you're trying to add. It is a data set that you can add here as well to play around with.
Someone collected imagery using a drone and built a 3D mesh. They could bring that in as a layer, and then these tools will allow you to do view shed analysis, line of sight.
Line of sight, view shed analysis. If data is collected through a drone, that would be data that you can bring in here to play around with these tools as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pivot on over to our ArcGIS Instant App application. To those that aren't familiar, Instant App is kind of like the application that we built as a successor to our ArcGIS configurable applications. The way that this application is marketed is like, hey, you can build an app in less than 5 minutes, which is true. But the recent updates for this app is they changed like the thumbnails of the templates that are available for you. And they also added an option to kind of preview some of these the app descriptions. So if I click on one, now you have the ability to take a look at some of these examples, because if you're trying to visualize, hey, I have this idea, what am I trying to accomplish? But hey, the 3D viewer sounds good. Maybe let's take a look at another one. Let's see, nearby. Let's take a look at these example app description. You get a description of what the nearby instant application does, and then these 3 options right here. Let's click on the second one. What do we have here as an example? So again, this example is already built out. They have their own data they provided, but just to get a general look and feel of what this instant application is supposed to do, this is what it would look like. But in addition to these new updates, you can always go through the classic method of what instant apps were intended for, was by going through these, I believe it's like 5 questions that they ask, and then it'll come up with a suggestion for you. So what is the goal of your app? Well, I want to provide public information. Number 2, what do you want to share? You have images, proximity to a feature. Well, let's say I have ArcGIS items and other resources. And then number 3, this is content shared to a group. And then you're narrowing down which of these instant apps are available. So, and based on like these questions that I answered, you have these 2 really ones that are really readily available to deploy and just to plug in your own data in there with minimal configuration. Okay, so that's Instant App. We're going to go ahead and jump on over to the new features of Experience Builder, kind of like on the opposite end of Instant App's Experience Builder, which is all about customizing. We refer to it as kind of like your blank canvas, where Instant App is your application that you're just choosing what existing app pre-configured and preset apps that are readily available. Experience Builder, again, blank canvas. I think some of you may be still using Web App Builder, or if you're familiar with Web App Builder, Experience Builder is its successor, kind of like how ArcGIS Pro is the successor to ArcMap. think about Experience Builder as being the successor to ArcGIS Online web app builder. But to those that are familiar with Experience Builder, there's a new feature that got added to called Express Mode. And then that's a little button up here on the top right that you toggle on. Now, the purpose of the Express Mode is to have an option to be able to create specific templatized apps. But these apps here, these 9 applications under this Express Mode, are actually reminiscent and are very similar to the ones that were available in Web App Builder. So the purpose of these ones is so that if folks are trying to migrate from an application that they're familiar with in a Web App Builder, by using this Express Mode and Experience Builder, they're going to see this very similar, even though this is built on the completely new updated platform of ArcGIS, the new 4.0 version of the platform. This still looks and feels like those classic applications that have been built. And again, you still need your own data set. And when you create these apps, the general look and feel of it is going to be ready for you. So let me hop on back to my slides real quick. Sure. All right, so in a brief summary of some of the things that we looked at the web editor, the map viewer, scene viewer, the instant apps, and experience builder. Again, these are just a handful of new updates with the update to ArcGIS Online. Many of our applications also get updated with it. But just to, if you want to see a more comprehensive list, we can provide you the link at the end, and also in the links that Arthur will be provided after this presentation. So again, these are kind of like the common questions we get of like, what is the purpose of web editor? Okay, like again, kind of like when I talked about in the beginning, why do we need it? Like we can already edit in several other ways, but just to reiterate, by using ArcGIS Web Editor, it gives you that streamlined workflow of just being able to edit. Now, it hasn't been released yet, but what's being worked on is ArcGIS Web Editor is eventually going to allow you to create like a dedicated instance of that application specific to just editing like attributes only. So this will prevent users from kind of like wandering into an application, and then if they still happen to have like editing privileges, and then they start editing and then data gets messed up. So an admin or someone creates an instance of ArcGIS Web Editor, and they are just restricted just editing attributes. That's a feature that was requested. But again, it's not out yet, but this might be something that it's going to be introduced in the next coming updates or the newer version of ArcGIS Web Editor. All right, so both Instant Apps and Experience Builder are both application builders, but which one should I go with? It's kind of a common question we get. All right, so Instant App versus Experience Builder. The easiest way to put this together is think about Instant Apps as somebody that's brand new. They don't have a lot of experience creating apps, but then once they get a little bit more familiarity with building applications, they can eventually kind of migrate on over to Experience Builder. But both tools are available for, you can launch these templates, but you're not restricted to those templates. You can always do customizing, not in a sense, not that customizing is an extra coding, but customizing and like adding widgets. If you don't like the look and feel of these applications, you can enhance it to your liking. And then to those that are familiar with story maps and ArcGIS Dashboard, We didn't really talk about it today, but again, those are more focused applications on one is for storytelling. And then the ArcGIS dashboards, some of you may be familiar, is at a glance information in the form of charge gauges or indicators. It just really depends on what the task at hand is and what your project is. And speaking of the web app builder retirement, I know that it was mentioned earlier. It's going to coincide particularly for ArcGIS Online at the Q1 of 2026. And there might be some concerns about, hey, what's going to happen to my application? If people are still using it, it's ArcGIS, it's still working. But just as a warning, like my apps continue to work after the retirement. So particularly for ArcGIS Online, the answer is yes. Now, even though it's still going to work as an ArcGIS Online web app builder, you're going to lose the ability to be able to create new apps and edit existing applications. But even more of a warning is like if since there's no more bug fixes and enhancements that it's happening, an update to your browser. So if there's an update to your Chrome browser, it's going to introduce security risks and functional behaviors that is not within Esri's control. So those apps might simply just crash. We don't know how it's going to behave yet, but again, these are kind of the issues that our development team are predicting if these applications are left operationally without being migrated on over to these applications that I mentioned earlier. Similarly, ArcGIS Enterprise, these apps will continue to work, but they kind of coincide with what version of ArcGIS Enterprise you are using. And then for the developer edition, same behavior, no more bug fixes or enhancements. However, it's already been since retired. Oh, also wanted to point out that technical support will no longer be available if you're trying to work with an application that has officially been retired as well. All right, we okay on time, Arthur?
Yeah.
All right, let me jump back into here, training resources. Window. Scroll this over. All right, Esri Academy. Some of you might be familiar or already taking advantage of some of the courses that are available in Esri Academy, but let's go to the course catalog here. These are a wide variety of training that's available to all of our subscribed users. You'll find videos, you'll find the instructor-led classes that are readily available here, but there's also a lot of free resources that you can check out. If there's anything particularly that you're trying to learn more about, it's all here. It's comprehensive. Again, I like videos personally because I just kind of want to see what's going on. And some of them are actually a series of combination of videos, learn lessons, and web courses that you can take at your own time as well. Let's type in ArcGIS, or let's type in ArcGIS products. And I want to learn more about ArcGIS Pro. And so you can see these are the classes that are readily available for you. Keep an eye out on this little symbol where it's currently unlocked because I'm currently logged in on my profile. But if you're in this website and you're not logged in, this is going to be locked and you're not going to have access to it. So just make sure you're logged into these resources to be able to access it. And under these resources, you'll also find information about classes that are instructor-led. One in particular that we were trying to highlight is the Get Started with Arcade class. Wanted to highlight this one coming up in April 23rd. Hey, Hawaiian time, 8:30 to 5. I believe currently we have 2 people registered for this class, but in order for us to confirm this class, confirm meaning to actually officially hold the class is we need 3. So we need 1 more person. If anyone out there is interested in learning a little bit more about the arcade class, you can go to this page. You can download the table of contents just to get a preview of like what the class entails. And then the other resource that I wanted to point out is our MOOC. This one's free. And this one's also coming up on April 9th through May 7th. The MOOC classes are great because Esri provides everything that you're going to need about these classes. For this particular one is titled Make an Impact with Modern Geo Apps. I would say that this one is a great introduction to all the out-of-the-box applications that you have, and you're working directly with the product team. So in this particular one, you'll see ArcGIS Online, Instant Apps, ArcGIS Dashboards, Story Maps, and Experience Builder. Again, you don't have to worry about having to have your own account for these accounts, but it does help because you can take some of the resources that you learn and provided in this class into your own organization so that you can continue learning and use those as examples as well. Another free resource that I wanted to point out, and we'll have the links to all these resources as well.
There's a couple of questions.
Nope. Couple of questions. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. So one question maybe you can address: after retirements, will there be new alternatives? I guess they're referring to ArcMap, or web map builder, but maybe we need clarification on that.
Yeah, looking at the chat here, Fred, after retirements, will there be new alternatives? Fred, I'm not sure I understand your question here. The alternatives is going to be the ArcGIS Pro. I don't know if you're talking about ArcMap or if you're talking about Web App Builder. The alternatives there are Experience Builder and Instant Apps. Todd linked a resource earlier in the chat about the migration strategies. I think that one was that one for ArcGIS Pro.
Yeah, I linked a course. Okay. It's our instructor-led course for migrating from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro.
Yep. And then yeah, so that one is in particular is for ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro, but there are other resources available for Web App Builder and into Experience Builder. It's been a popular topic for about a year, 2 years now. So if there's any particular resources that we can send over, we'll be happy to do that as well.
And then I can answer this question about cost for courses, but Maza has a question about is it possible to update instant apps in Experience Builder? So I'm not sure what he might mean by that.
So Maza's question is it possible to update instant apps in Experience Builder?
Yeah, you can you reconfigure?
I want to say no, just because they're templates that you're pulling from instant apps. However, well, I'll have to double check on that because essentially when you can customize those instant app applications to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, they're still opened in the respective applications. So I don't, if it's like a migrating from an instant application to an Experience Builder question, I'll have to double check on that one for you.
Yeah, if I could just even save them, I mean, it's not that's not a problem. You could save them as something else, but if you can actually edit.
Yeah, we can, yeah, Maza, we can, who's talking?
Yeah, no.
Maza, unfortunately, I'm unable to hear you right now.
No, he's not talking. So Maza, this is Todd. Yeah, I guess it might be good to have a little bit of context related to your question. Not sure what you mean about updating instant apps in Experience Builder. Basically, the whole idea behind instant apps is it's kind of a quick and simple app deployment. It's not meant to be complex, and so you can do everything within that kind of app container and the options and functionality. You wouldn't want to open that up in Experience Builder and edit it because that instant app is very limited in what it could do. Where Experience Builder is really our technology to allow you to have a lot of control and introduce a lot of different configuration options, even coding to a certain degree. So, okay, so migrating to Experience Builder. So you take an existing instant app, migrate it into Experience Builder so that you can do more with it. I'm guessing that that's probably that's not possible because the instant apps again are very basic. You're not gonna build anything complex. So if you needed to do something in Experience Builder, probably what you would do is take your data, your web map, and you'd bring it into Experience Builder, and then you kind of start from there. And it wouldn't be too much of a lift because again, the instant apps are meant, they have instant in the name. That's kind of what they're meant for, is a quick deployment of our technology, not something too complex.
Yep. Thank you, Todd.
And then I do have maybe a couple comments about comments about courses and whatnot. So I see an individual asked about the cost, who would pay for the cost of the ArcGIS class. I also see Arthur kind of mentioned that that would be paid for by your agency. So if you went that link that I put in the chat, migrating from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro, you'll see that there's a cost associated with it. It could be as easy as if you have access to a P card, you could just pay online with the P card to sign up for a particular course. Of course, we'll probably want to be involved in that a little bit just to make sure we get things aligned with the right course that you're looking to participate in. Another option is, there could be more training needs within your agency, your program, your organization. So another option, we actually have what's called a training pass. And you can actually buy basically a set of training days for your organization. And that can be something that can be used within a year's time. So if you foresee that you and others in your agency might be looking at doing more with GIS, maybe there's areas where you want to learn or explore more. Maybe you are needing to really prepare for that migration from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro. We can help you with a training pass. We can put something together. We can talk to you about what your needs are. And then that can be basically a pool of training days that your agency and your team, your program can tap into when you need it over the course of a year. So, okay, that's the couple things I want to mention. If there's any questions about that stuff, please let us know.
And then Christopher Koda had a question about the migration. Is there an easy way to convert Web App Builder resources to Experience Builder, or do they need to be recreated from scratch? It's going to be the latter, Christy, because it is coming from that JavaScript 3.0 to the 4.0 platform. They do need to get recreated from scratch. But with that being said, that's why we're introducing kind of like what I mentioned in the Experience Builder application earlier. With the Express mode, those particular templates came directly from Web App Builder, so that it kind of helps, even though you are building it from scratch, the familiarity with it, with those older legacy applications are still in Experience Builder. So those are kind of like one of the tools that's being addressed as well. Thank you.
Mazza has a question about training costs, if they're different if you use the Advantage program credits versus funds. So there could be a fair amount of people on the call here that don't know what the Advantage program is. So I'll just kind of quickly mention about that. Mazza, statewide Department of Transportation Highways, they have our Advantage program, which is it was referenced in the last EA, and it's going to be referenced in the new EA, which gives departments the ability to procure our Advantage program through referencing the contract for streamlined procurement. This is a kind of a subscription program with Esri. Provides these, we call them credits, that can be used for consulting or training. It's super flexible. You get a technical advisor that's kind of your partner that helps you with kind of larger GIS strategies, visioning, a roadmap, possibly maybe piloting applications, or maybe just getting you access to Esri subject matter subject matter experts for maybe a particular project that you're working on or project that you have coming. Maybe you might need some guidance related to some sort of project that you're looking at doing an RFP, and you need some guidance with what are the GIS requirements that would go into an RFP or something like that. But those credits can also be used for training. And the consulting or the training, it's kind of as the organization needs it. If your priorities shift, so does how the Advantage program and the credits can be utilized. But to answer Maz's question about the difference in costs, I don't know if there's much of a difference. We do have what you get with the Advantage program, whether it's you're using those credits for training or consulting, you actually get a bit of a value using those credits for either of those. They do tend to be, if you break things down for the cost of the Advantage program, credit by credit, whether you're using it for consulting or training, it does end up being a little bit of a less cost per credit compared to if you're just paying for the training or paying for consulting through other means. Same thing as the training pass. I think you're getting a little bit of a value through the program compared to a training pass. So sorry, I don't have a more specific answer for you, Maza, but there is a little bit of a difference there.
Thank you, Todd. All right. Maza, again, any other follow-up questions you have, don't hesitate to let us know. But I hope we were able to answer some of your questions there. One last resource to show, another free resource to go over is our learn.arcgis.com site. So let's go there real quick. Page. This learn.arcgis.com site is slightly different from our Esri Academy resources, that these training resources are provided with your subscription, but it includes a set of specific instructions, data included, and pictures. Like let's click on let's just preparing and publishing branch version data. It shows you roughly how long it'll take you, the difficulty of these the lessons. It shows you what type of requirements and system and software requirements that you will need. But the great thing about it is, like, when you're doing one of these lessons, you download, some of them include project packages for ArcGIS Pro. Some of them have data sets readily available in Living Atlas. So you don't have to worry about providing your own data. But the best part about it is, like, when you're going through these steps, is each step is broken down. So this particular one, a project package is provided so that when you open up ArcGIS Pro, everything you need to run through this lesson is already provided. And again, if you kind of taking a look at this one quick example, click on here, on the next step, type this, save your user. So it's very specific from steps A all the way to the final output. This one's a little bit a longer one, but it breaks down each steps that you need so that you can accomplish this. And, it's at your own pace, so there's no pressure of time. There's no pressure of an instructor or fellow students that are going through this lesson, but it gives you a solid lesson on what this particular one is. For this example, it's the prepare and publish branch versioning data. Again, just want to make everybody aware of this is another free resource. We'll include the link for this site as well. Finally, just go back to my slides again. Just to wrap things up. Close this one up. Okay, just to start wrapping things up. Again, this is a plenary slide, as you can tell. They spent a lot of time, or actually this was from the Fed GIS last week or 2 weeks ago. I took this one just because like in the whole theme of advancing, with the different migrations, the new features that are being introduced, updates, quarterly updates, ArcGIS Online, new apps. So ArcGIS is constantly advancing. But one of them that I quickly wanted to show a small preview for is ArcGIS is also being enhanced with AI. Two particular categories on that one. One is the Geo AI analysis, which everybody kind of the AI storm kind of came out of nowhere these past 2-3 years, but Esri has always been in the business of, I guess, what you can term as AI, because some of their tools, even in ArcMap, have already been around, but now they're just being recoined as being part of Geo AI. So many of these analysis tools are already predictive tools that have already been around, that it's already in existence. But the one that's kind of exciting is the AI assistant. And as a small preview, these are kind of the beta versions of AI assistants that is being introduced in several of our different products. Currently, AI is not available at the organization, but if you might start hearing more and more about these AI capabilities that are all currently in beta, some of them might start being introduced as into the product line as well. I threw this in real quick because we were talking about the user types earlier, but if you wanted to get a brief quick capture or a snapshot of like the user type changes that we were discussing earlier, I just wanted to throw this in there real quick for reference. As you can see, the changes that Arthur mentioned is the professional plus and the professional on the right side, and the contributor. Those are the big changes that happen, and also the combination of the creator user type into the GIS professional basic. Okay. And again, these are just some of the resources that we talked about today. We'll be adding some more. And with that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take more questions if anybody has any. I'm gonna Francine, the resources slide, I can the links are going to be provided after the presentation. Those are just the a quick reference to what the resources are going to be. Let me see here. I'm gonna share my screen again. Share. Oops. There we go. Just a brief summary of the resources that are here. Our Esri Communities page. I like it just because our developers are very active in Esri Communities page. That's when you can ask questions, request new features, get updates on existing bugs, or enhancement requests. Any popular, because usually this is the way that our developers are paying attention to our users is within the Esri Communities. The ArcGIS blog, there's constantly blogs that are being released, whether it's new feature being introduced, updates. Again, the documentation page. Again, this is just kind of a place where you can pull resources. I think this particular one was for the field maps one. I need to update that one. And then on the right side, the training, and then the early adopter communities is another resource that's great for if you want to get involved in Esri's beta testing. A lot of those AI tools that are being introduced rely on beta users. So if you have the spare time and if you want to get your hands on some of the newest, coolest features and tools, that's one way to do it. And then the MOOCs is also the what we shared earlier. And then one last thing is the videos. We used to have a big presence in YouTube, but the Esri has created a place called mediaspace.esri.com where we're uploading videos and technical sessions. I think a lot of them were from like for example, like the Dev Summit that happened last week or 2 weeks ago. Some of those videos are already making their way there as well.
Are they still available on YouTube?
Some of them are still available on YouTube, but it's a good idea to check both locations. I think definitely the newer ones are definitely going to be in the mediaspace.esri.com, but some of the older ones might still be there, but many of them are being migrated on over. Just to how many's left on YouTube. I think some of the groups are still active on there just because, YouTube's a very popular space for us to view those videos, but definitely check out both if there's anything particular you're looking for. I will throw in my email in the chat. So if anybody has any follow-up questions for us, let me know.
Well, thanks very much, Alan. Any
Thank you, Arthur.
final questions for Alan or Todd Kingman?
Yeah,
or
I
me?
had one more question. I was wondering if the Experience Builder, some of the queries, especially the special query, is really lacking, and we have to embed dashboards right now. So I'm not sure. I think that's really would be a great enhancement. It's not really. I don't think it's there to be able to.
Maza, can you, I'm sorry, could you repeat? We are having some audio issues here.
Okay, no, I had Experience Builder special queries are really very primitive. I put it in the chat, and we don't. We have to embed dashboards in there to really do. It would be nice not to have to do that with all the ability to interact with the data. I don't know why the special queries are really terribly lacking. You could do that, but it's just so convoluted. You have to put in all kinds of stuff.
So these are the exact feedback that our development team are looking for. So whether it's through an enhancement request or whether it's through like a blog post in the Esri communities, feel free to share it out there. One of the largest team within the company is also the Experience Builder team. So they're constantly monitoring those Esri communities page. And if you want, you can share your feedback directly to me. And whether it's through a technical support enhancement request, or if you ever want to get in touch with somebody from the Experience Builder team, we can certainly set that up too, just to kind of see just to get some feedback. That's why we love the Esri user conference, because these are the same exact, the people that aren't typically in front of our users, these are kind of the questions that they get in person. If we were there, we would walk you over. But if you can provide us this feedback, Maza, we'd love to take it to their team.
Thank you. Yeah. I think there is a feedback already on the user community. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Even better. If there's already a feedback that's provided, I know it seems kind of silly, but if you can vote if this is an enhancement idea, you can vote it upwards or give it a thumbs up. But there's a tool there that you can kind of basically elevate its status within the Esri communities page, so that our development team are constantly monitoring to where and what our users are asking for. So as simple as giving it like a thumbs up or commenting on it, they're monitoring that. So that's great that it's there. I mean, it's not great that these are features that are seemingly lacking, but we want to address those deficiencies for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we do that often. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again, everybody, for coming today. Just a quick reminder, Alan was started out talking about the updates to ArcGIS Online that took place in February. Sometimes those updates will affect maps or apps that you guys have developed. So if you, it would behoove you to test out your important apps to make sure everything's still working correctly. And if anything is not, please email us at gis@hawaii.gov and we'll pass that on. Especially, we'll be able to tell if there's some kind of pattern to these things happening. Other than that, I just wanted to mention that historically, this is a decade ago, the GIS program had an advantage program with a bunch of credits that were specifically meant for training. So we did have a bucket of training credits that we sent probably 50 people over a year or so to these instructor-led courses. They are costly. So if you're using credits or if your agency is paying for it, I would say just make sure that you get that value back out of it. Make sure that whoever you're sending to training is actually doing something with it or passing on that knowledge, because it is a rarer and rarer opportunity to go to these instructor-led trainings. If you do have a chance, especially with the year end here, and some agencies may have some excess funds to apply to that kind of training, I think it's well worth it if you can. So with that, any parting questions for anybody? If not, give you 10 minutes of your day back, and thank you all for coming. Have a great weekend. See you next time. And I'll post this as soon as I can. Thanks.